Hi.
Magic has been a part of my life for longer than I realized that magic was a part of my life. There always seemed to be something amazing about the world, and I thought that everybody would notice it, and I was kind of surprised when people wouldn't notice it. A particular flower growing in a particular way that just drew my attention, and I could sit and feel what it was thinking, what it was talking about, what it had to teach me. Magic is as varied as the number of people who practice it. Magic is defined differently for each one of us because of whatever story or whatever culture or whatever traditions that we grew up with. Maybe it's the magic of the Celts and the Druids. Maybe it's the magic of Africa and the voodoo traditions. Maybe it's the magic of healing. Maybe it's the magic of meditation and spirituality. Magic is more defined by what it does as opposed to what it is. Or I seem to find that. Most people, when they talk about magic, it's like, well, it is a manifestation of something maybe that wasn't there. Or maybe an alignment with the natural world that allows you to maybe bring in lightning or rain or a rainbow. But what is magic in and of itself? We don't know. It's kind of like spirit, known as the great mystery, that which in this life we cannot fully know. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about magic. And as I said, people have different views of it. I remember when I read Lord of the Rings. and I read the Silmarillion, which is not for the weak or the easily tired. But it was a world of wizards and elves. And, even the dwarves had their magic, and the hobbits, they had the magic of being able to stay hidden. Everybody seemed to have a particular type of magic, yet it all related to the natural world and the energies of the world around us. And how many of us, when, somebody comes knocking at our door that we wouldn't like, wouldn't we love to be able to say, "You shall not pass"? And yet, at the same time, there was a softness to it. There was a depth to it. There was a responsibility to it. One did not just send out magic willy-nilly. One worked with the natural world and with the spirits. Or maybe the magic of the Jedi. Highly merchandised we are. This Yoda was given to me probably just over 20 years ago.
Wow.
And I always think of the idea of the Jedi, the light and the shadow, the idea that it's something that moves through all of us, that's a part of everything, and that if we can become quiet and stilled and disciplined enough, we can be able to tap into it and create things. These are not the droids you're looking for. You really don't want that parking space. You want to leave it open for me.
Does that work? It works.
It works. And that is actually, I consider the Force almost a very highly attuned form of empathy. Because you tap into that which is a part of all of us. You learn to resonate with someone, whether it's to convince them that the droids that they're seeing aren't there, or to exert a force. Have you ever walked up on somebody and you almost feel like there's a physical wall? It's like they do not want to be bothered. And people will actually walk around them. What is that if not the Force? And the fact that it depended on, the Force would be neutral other than your intention. If your intention became that of controlling or trying to remove someone's choice, then the Force went into the place of the dark side. But if you focused on healing and balance, the Force went into the light side. So the Force truly became the intention that the person who held it wanted to carry. And it would intensify it. So, yeah, that is definitely a magic. Now, we cannot leave out the Harry Potter fans. This I've had for more than 20 years. This I've had for almost 40 years.
Wow.
My wand.
Wow.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And it is something that I do not utilize or bring out to use very often, but on occasion. There was a time when I used it significantly more. And while I wasn't exactly going Leviosa Devatorum, anything happen? No. Not sure what I said, just didn't want to put anything in. But the idea of Harry Potter was that magic came through learning. Magic came through focus. Magic came through study. And in all three of those ideas, magic was something that in part you were born with a capacity for. Harry Potter, are you a wizard or a muggle?
Wizard.
Wizard! Lord of the Rings, the elves had a particular magic, the dwarves had a particular magic.
Dwarf.
The hobbits, dwarf. And, of course, the Jedi had the midi-chlorians, and that you were born with a certain capacity. I agree and disagree with this. I agree that we are all born with a capacity, we are all born with a talent for it. And yet, those talents aren't all the same. Some people are able to tap into it more easily, others are not. Maybe this time around, they weren't quite ready to tap into it, and therefore they couldn't. There's a book series called Xanth. It was by Piers Anthony. And it was a world where everyone came into the world born with a particular talent. I mean, it may be nature-based or it may be, more arcane-based, but everybody had one talent and nobody else had that talent but them. And so therefore, each person was meant to contribute one particular thing, one thing that was special to them, to the society as a whole. And I do believe in that. I believe that each one of us has a special capacity, yet it's nothing that everybody else can't have. People sometimes say to me, wow, I could never do what you do. And no, that's not true at all. I do what I do because I've been blessed to have an opportunity to learn a lot, to encounter a lot, to experience a lot. I've been blessed to walk the lands of 8 different countries on 4 different continents, to interact with healers and to learn things. And yet, there is absolutely nothing special about me. It's work. It's focus. It is connection. It is surrender. Magic is a wonderful thing, and it's subtle until it's not. And when we think about what is our spiritual magic, what is that that's inside of us that allows us to have that connection? And spiritual magic is work too. It's probably among the hardest work because the first thing it demands is that we be authentic with ourselves. If spiritual magic is going to function, then we have to be able to be in that space of really embracing it, of trusting it. If you don't trust your magic, no one can give that to you. Your magic cannot truly manifest itself unless you believe it's possible. And if it's a situation where, man, because we all get those, it's like, gee, is this going to work? I've always prayed for it and things have worked out, but man, this time it feels different. This time it feels difficult. Yeah. You can trust it and still go, okay, I know I trust you, but I'm really nervous about this.
Absolutely.
And that's important to be able to express. To say, you know what, I'm worried about it and I'm going to trust it. Those are not mutually exclusive. So how do we find it? What is your spiritual magic? Well, the first thing is just to stop. Stop looking for what you think you're supposed to find, because often when we get so focused on trying to find what we think we're supposed to find, we don't find anything. We're not able to just go, oh, okay. I remember in the Xanth books, which I loved reading those Xanth books, there was one person who their ability was to make a wart grow on someone's nose. That was it. That was their skill. And it's like, okay, you know, we would all love to be able to, you know, hold up our hand and, you know, have eagles come flying in, or shape change, or to fly. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes it's just something very subtle.
Just warts.
Sometimes, well, it may be warts, and it may be that you have that skill so that you can help someone not be quite so vain. That maybe they need to get out of their physical self. There's light and shadow in everything. And if we don't think our skill or our magic is very important, or, well, everybody can do this, or anybody can do this. Yeah, but they can't do it the way you do it. Even if it's as simple as taking someone's hand when they're going through something difficult. The ability to know not to say anything, but to just be there for them, to genuinely be there for them and have them feel that you're there for them.
That's right.
That's magic. That is the most phenomenal magic. In fact, to me, the highest and most special and the most challenging form of magic is to help people see the magic within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is the best magic that anybody could possibly do, is to help somebody else see the magic that they have. I mean, it's not about, you know, magic tricks and deluding anybody or illusion or creating, but I mean, we're talking about creating something real. The real magic that exists within each and every one of you. Because each and every one of you is a healer. Each and every one of you is a counselor. Each and every one of you is someone who is crucial to this world because of what you do, because of what you are. And nobody ever said you had to do it pretty. Nobody ever said you had to, you know, have it be fancy with all kinds of lights and sparkling things. And in fact, some of the people who I know who do the most amazing magic, most people would just walk past them. The people who are subtly there for people. The people who are tired and yet still get up and take care of somebody. The people who will stop and say, "How are you doing?" and wait for an answer. And when you say, "Oh, well, I'm fine," and they know you're not telling the truth, they're going to hold you to it. No, no, no. How are you? Somebody who can make you feel like you're the only person in the entire world. That's magic. I would trade being able to, you know, make the remote fly over to me while I'm sitting on the couch. Although it would be close. I would trade that for watching the light come up in someone's eyes when they realize, I have magic.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best. That is the absolute best. And in order to do that, you need to find it within yourself. I had an amazing and wonderful teacher, and one of the first things he said to me was, you have to show them your magic before they can show you theirs. You have to show them the magic is there, that the magic is possible, and let them know the magic is inside of them. Each of you are unique. Each of you are like the last rose in the world. And how would you treat the last rose in the world? Would you just toss it in the backyard and say, well, you know, I'm sure it'll be fine? Or would you nurture it? Would you take care of it? Your magic is like that. The more you tap into it, the more you recognize it, the more you share it, the more it grows, the more powerful it becomes. Did anybody see Never-Ending Story?
Yes.
Okay, remember at the very end when there was only this one tiny little spark of magic left, and Bastian was holding it and the Empress was there, And he said, this is all that's left. And she smiled, and it's like, well, that's enough. It still survived. And he said, well, what can I do with this? And she said, anything you want. The more you use it, the bigger it grows. And sometimes life can really bear down on us. Sometimes it can get hard. Sometimes it can feel really hopeless. And we have a really hard time finding that tiny little spark. But it's there. It never goes away. It's like energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It simply changes form.
It's just there.
It is there. And that spark, in the heart of that, for me, lies Creator. Creator is the most amazing source of magic that there is. Because it's that magic that takes on a life of its own. It's that magic that knows its magic. And it knows your magic. We are a part of everyone here, everyone in the world, everyone in the universe. We are all joined. We're a part of one another. And that's an amazing magic. If you go and place your hand up against one of those amazing old trees, I mean one of those sequoias that, that 20 people couldn't get around and hold arms and still reach around it. You touch that and you feel the presence of that tree. That's magic. One of the things that being empathic, I always say that being an empath or an unmanaged empath means that you can only be as happy as the least happy person in the room. And it takes a while to learn that you can transmit as well as receive. And being on an airplane and having a child. Anybody been on an airplane with a child that was completely unhappy?
Especially when they're sitting right behind you.
Yeah, there was a time that was me. That was my kid. And little ones are tremendously empathic.
Yeah.
And you hear a child, and then all of a sudden you can almost feel the plane turning on that child. I mean, these are all good, wonderful people, but they're looking at the next 4 hours of hearing that.
Right.
And their energy will invariably go to that place of, oh, God, can't they control that kid? Oh my God, can't they give him something to put him to sleep? Oh my God, why did I get on this plane? Why do you hate me? Yeah, and all of that, and that little one is picking it up.
Oh yeah. So he's crying more.
And yes, they're going to cry more. It's going to intensify. So the next time this happens to you, or if you're in a movie theater, or if you're in a restaurant, tap into that. Feel it. Feel what's going on in the room. And this is how you deal with it. First, you create a bubble around that child that blocks all of the energy that's being projected at it. Then you send out a wave of calm to everybody in the room, everyone in the plane. Then you soothe the parents, help them let go of the guilt and embarrassment.
Yeah.
And then inside that beautiful little egg, that precious child is inside, you bring gentleness, sweetness, sleep. I have used this, it works. Now, it may take a while, because if you've got a whole plane of really pissed off people, you can't just turn them. Which is one of my biggest points about magic. That you cannot use it for your own convenience to affect someone else's process or to make things easier for yourself. Magic, it has its rules. And it's like, well, I just don't like how this is going, so I'm going to change that. No. One, it probably won't work, and two, there's a backlash. Everyone gets to have free will. If someone is being a jerk and weaving in and out of traffic, yeah, it'd be nice. It's like, you know what? Bam! Their battery's gonna go. Or their tire's gonna go flat and they gotta pull over. I mean, not a blowout, but just it starts up, and they gotta pull over. Yeah, that'll show them. They're speeding, ha ha ha. We're going to manifest a cop right down there. Pull them over, ruin their day. Doesn't work that way. You can say, wow, that person may be heading to something. They may have just found out that someone in their life is really in a bad way, and they're rushing to get to them. Or maybe there's a woman in the car in labor unexpectedly, and her partner's just trying to get her to that hospital. We don't know the whole story. And magic can be very powerful, which is why we need to check our intentions. We need to check where we're at. Are we authentic with our magic? Whatever magic each one of you has, it will manifest itself, and I'm sure for many of you it already has. It's that little thing you do by reflex that helps others that most people don't think of. It could be sensing when somebody's in trouble. You suddenly get a thought, oh wow, I need to call this person, and call them up, and they say, man, I'm really glad you called, because I'm in a bad way. That's magic. It's when somebody is in the line behind you and only has one item and looks really tired, and you say, hey, go ahead and go in front of me. And they look at you with such gratitude. That's magic. There's also the more intense stuff. There is clearings, and clearings when something doesn't want to be cleared. That's fun. It is the working with the environment, working with the weather, which is very time consuming. But there's that focus and that discipline. There's also the detachment, because first off, it's not about you. Magic isn't about, oh, I can do something somebody else can't, which isn't true, because sooner or later somebody's going to come along who can do it way better than you do. And then you go, wow, they can do that really good. And your choice is either to go, man, I don't want to be around them. I don't want to be around them. Their magic is bigger than mine, so I don't want their magic to outshine mine. Or you can say, man, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I have got to find out how to do that. When I go to Native American church ceremonies, which is an all-night ceremony, and you're in prayer, and you're sitting cross-legged in a teepee for like 14 to 16 hours, it is an amazing prayer. And the roadman, who is like the holy man who's in charge of it. And at one point, there was a woman who was going through really a hard time. And when somebody's going through a hard time, you would burn cedar for them, and the cedar, it corrects and it blesses. And I saw this roadman, he looked up, he came out of his prayer, and he saw this woman was really struggling with something. And so he walked over, and there's a huge fire inside the teepee. And there's a fire tender who all night is tending it. And he went over and he knelt in front of the fire, and he began to talk to it. And it's like, well, is he praying or is he talking? He was both. And then he reached in and he pulled out an ember this big, piece of wood, put it in the palm of his hand, walked over to a woman, pulled out his fan, he placed the cedar on top of the ember, and it flared up. And he started fanning, and he fanned it on her. He didn't seem upset, he didn't seem rushed, and he was just whispering something to her, and as he was fanning and the smoke from the cedar went over to her, he went back, and he knelt down again, and and he spoke to the fire again, and he took the ember and put it right back where he picked it up. And I saw him do that 3 times, and that ember was on his hand probably for a good, 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. The next morning, or early afternoon when we finished, I went over and I shook his hand. There was not a mark on it. It wasn't even red.
Wow.
And that is some cool magic. But that's his magic. That's a part of his magic. And there was a part of me that said, wow, I would love to be able to do that. And then I heard gently, if that was your magic, you would do it. And you may learn it. But you have magic of your own, so be content. So how do we stay in our place of magic? How do we enjoy the thrill and yet take it seriously and manage it and hold it and bear the responsibility, because a responsibility it is. My office it's where I work, where I play, and where I pray. And it's one of my favorite places in the world to be. And being able to realize the joy of what I do while at the same time accept the seriousness. And when you find your own magic, and like I said, you want to find your magic, become quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask, what's my magic? And in that quiet place, you will get an answer. You will you may see something, you may smell something. I knew somebody who asked that question, and suddenly, for the next week, all they smelled was fresh baked bread. And they wondered, it's like, well, that's no answer. And then they realized that they needed to learn to make bread. And when she learned to make bread, she began sharing the bread with other people. And it was weird because that was the most unbelievably just amazing bread. And people would actually say, wow, I feel better just having that. She made it with prayer and she made it with love. That was her magic. And it helped a lot of people. She would always come, whenever she came to ceremonies, people would go looking for her and her bread. And no matter how many people came, there was always enough. There was always like 1 or 2 pieces. And she wouldn't even ask how many people were coming. Whether there were 10 people or whether there was 50, she always had enough bread. The bread always lasted. That's magic. My ex-husband used to say that, well, I'll believe in magic if you can hold up your fingers and sparks can fly between your fingers. And he always used to say that. We were married for 20 years. And then when I began spiritual studies, he said that to me once. And I looked at him and I said, would you like to see that now? I mean, it was hard keeping a straight face because I watched him go, really? I said, yeah. You want to see me do that right now? And if you see that, are you prepared to fully accept that magic exists? And he looked at me and he said, I don't want to see it. And I said, why? And he said, well, first, because then it would be real. And that would mess me up. And second, it would mean that you could do something that I couldn't, and I think I'd resent you for it. It was interesting because that conversation seemed to be the lead point of what ended up being our separating. And he told me that my magic once belonged to him. He said, I know you're magical, but it used to just belong to me. Now it belongs to everybody, and I can't deal with that. Because he was envied for my magic, and he was happy about that. And he said I was like a beautiful bird in a cage that everybody admired him for having.
Wow.
So, you know, and I was really glad that we had those conversations. I was glad that he was able to open that up, because it really made it clear that our contract was complete. That if we stayed together, one of us would be unhappy. And in fact, since we parted, we were able to save our friendship. And he's actually found some of his own magic, which really makes me happy. But he's doing it at his pace, not at mine. So whether you're an experienced practitioner or whether you just go, wow, all this magic stuff, that's kind of weird. It doesn't matter, because your magic is your magic. No one can take it away from you. No one can truly give it to you, but they can show you how to tap into it. And one of the ways that, you know, it came into my field that magic was something to be maintained. And one of the ways we maintain it is by creating some affirmations for it. Creating some things that when we can look at them or read them, it kind of brings us back into our place. Because it's in that place of centering and in that place of balance that magic can happen. If you're not balanced, if you're not grounded, it's hard. It makes it harder. The flow does not happen. And the other day, I was looking for something on a bookshelf, and something said, look behind those books. Really? Okay. Looked behind the books, and I found a little journal that I thought it was a blank book. And I opened it up, and apparently shortly after I came here, I started writing in a journal.
Apparently.
And at the end of that journal, there were some things that I just kind of wrote. And I wrote in the journal, I don't know why, but one day this is going to be important. So I'm going to share with you what I wrote in the back of that journal. And they are, as I go through them, it's like, wow, these are my centering thoughts. This is where I go when my magic is feeling off. Just because I can does not mean that I should. The best of intentions do not give permission. It is not my place to decide how someone else's process should be. No one is obligated to meet my expectations. Healing comes through me, not from me. Assessment first, then action. Always actively question my motives until it becomes a reflex. I will choose love. When in doubt, be silent, be still, and listen. Being understood is my responsibility. I can only learn from a place of not knowing. I am who and what I choose to be in each moment. Knowing that my words and thoughts are infinitely powerful means that I must always be vigilant regarding my intentions. What I give to one, I give to all. If I don't know what to do, I will do nothing. Sometimes I am only meant to witness. Don't get wrapped up in what to pray for. Just pray. Always take a second look at my first reaction before I react. Remember that what I think is best is only what I think, not necessarily what I know. My power can't be taken from me. I have to give it away, which means that I can always take it back. And of course, life is fun until it isn't, and it sucks until it doesn't. Thank you.